In this video, I'm going through Semester 2, Grade 11, GED, and the final assessment practice. So question 1 says, line M has the equation 5x plus 4y equals 9, and it wants you to select the gradient. So you can only find the gradient when the equation is in the form y equals mx plus c, and the gradient is n. So we need to rearrange that to make y the subjects. So 4y equals 9 minus 5x. And then you have to divide everything by 4. And you get y equals 9 over 4, which is c, the y-intercept, minus 5 quarters x. So your gradient is negative 5 over 4, which is this one. Question 2 says figure 1 shows a sector AOB of a circle with center at O and radius r centimeters. The angle AOB is theta radians. The area of the sector is 15 centimeters squared. Given that the perimeter of the sector is 5 times the length of the arc, so the perimeter is 5 times the length of the arc, and there's area as well, so there's a lot here. Find the exact value of r. Now, a lot of these formulas, if not all of these formulas, will be in your formula sheet. So we've got a few things here. Area is half times radius squared times theta. And the perimeter, which you will not find because it's a combination of two things, not a formula on itself. The perimeter is basically the arc length. So the arc length, that's the arc. And the arc length you will find in your formulas. It's r times theta. But the perimeter is not just the arc length. It's also adding the two radiuses, the two radii. So really, the perimeter is arc length, r theta, plus r, which is plus 2r. So that's the perimeter. And the perimeter is, so it equals 5 times the arc length, which is r theta. So r theta plus 2r, the perimeter, equals 5 times r theta, which I'm going to write as 5r theta. And the only number we have is the area of the sector. So the area is 15. And the question says, find the exact value of r. So at some point, my final answer is going to be r equals. But I'm starting here with the area. I'm going to, this is a half, I'm going to times by 2. So 15 times 2 is 30, r squared theta. I'm not going to find r now. This is going to be the last thing I do. But what would be helpful is to find an expression in terms of theta to start with, because I don't want to have two unknowns. So theta equals 30 divided by r squared. So that's my step 1 really, is to get an expression for theta. Step 2 is to use this equation, and to get rid of theta, I can replace theta with 30 over r squared. So r times 30 over r squared plus 2r equals 5r times 30 over r squared. Now, when you're multiplying, this is r over 1, 5r over 1, and you would multiply the top together and bottom together, and then you'd get something like this, 30r over r squared, but one of the r's, this r would cancel with one of the r's, and you'll end up with simply 30 over r. So this is 30 over r plus 2r equals, and I'm going to do the same here. So this is gone, and this is gone, and 5 times 30 is 150. So this is 150 over r. And what you can do now is you can move this fraction to the other side by subtraction. I'm going to move this way. So now I have 2r equals 150 over r minus 30 over r. And because they have a common denominator, all you need to do is do the subtraction at the top. So this is 2r equals 120 over r. And now I can multiply by r to get rid of the fraction. 2r squared equals 120. I can divide both sides by 2, and I get r squared equals 60. And so r is the square root of 60. I have found the exact value of r. Looking at step 2, this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, starting with the perimeter and equals 5 times the arc length. R theta plus 2r equals 5r theta. Well, instead of moving this to the other side, I'm going to start by moving that, because these are like terms. This is 1r theta and this is 5r theta. So I can subtract at the very beginning. So 5r theta minus 1r theta, 2r equals 4r theta. And then I can do my substitution here now. 2r equals 4r 30 over r. Actually, I can, I can then do divide by 2, divide by 2. So r equals 2r 30 over r. And I can cross out the r's, so it gives me what have I done? What have I missed out? It's 30 over r squared. So I'll miss out, this is r squared. I'll cross out that. Okay, so r equals 60 over r. I multiply r squared equals 60. So r equals root 60. So I just forgotten to write r squared. And these two r's, well, one of the r's cancels out at the bottom and the top, and I multiply the 2 by 30 to get 60 over r. I multiply r by r squared, r equals root 60. So it just depends whether you're comfortable doing the substitution at the beginning or doing the substitution at the end. Okay, question 3 says, in an arithmetic progression, the first term is 6 and the common difference is 2. The nth term of the progression is denoted by un. Find the value of the 24th term, u24. So the nth term formula is a plus n minus 1d. That gives you the nth term, or un. So first term is a, that means a is 6, and d is 2. So just substituting that in, 6 plus n minus 1 really times 2. But I know what n is because n is 24. So 6 plus 24 minus 1 is 23. 23 times 2. And you put that into your calculator and you get 52. The 24th term is 52. And question 4. Integrate 1 over 8x cubed in terms of x. Now you cannot integrate a fraction, so the first thing you do is you write it as a negative power. So this is 1 over 8. See, 8 is in the denominator, it stays in the denominator. And this is x to the power of negative 3 dx. Don't start integrating, make sure you do things one step at a time. Then you're going to integrate by adding 1 to the power, and this becomes negative 2. And then you're going to do the 8th divided by negative 2 plus c. Well, an 8th divided by negative 2 is negative 16th, a negative 16th. So this is now a negative 16th x to the power of negative 2 plus c, which is this answer here. And then question 5 gives you a Venn diagram with various probabilities. And it tells you the probability of B is 0.3, so it just adds these up. Tells you that A and B are independent, and it says given that the probability of the complement of B given C is 0.58, find the value of R and S. So the conditional probability has a formula. The probability of the complement of B and the intersection between C, so the intersection between the complement of B and C, divided by the probability of C, is 0.58. Well, what is the intersection between complement of B and C? Let's break it down. The complement of B, not B, so I don't want that, I don't want B. That's 0.22, 0.13, R and S. And what is C? C is 0.1 and R. So what's the intersection between those two? The intersection, this, is literally R. So let's replace it. R divided by the probability of C. Well, the probability of C is 0. What is C? 0.1 plus R is 0.58. So that's an equation. That's an equation that we can solve. The first thing I'm going to do, put brackets around that, and I'm going to multiply it up. So I'm going to move this to this side. So I now have R equals 0.58 times 0.1 plus R. These are brackets, so I'm going to multiply the brackets in. And of course this is 1R. So 1R equals 0.058 plus 0.58 R. The R's are the same, so I'm going to collect like terms. I've got 1R minus 0.58R equals 0.058. So 0.942 R equals 0.058. This is that. And then I'm going to divide by 0.942 on both sides. And I get the value of R. R equals 29 over 471. And you don't round. Now that I have R, I know that all of these probabilities add up to 1, so I can find S. That's a bad arrow. So S equals 1 minus all of the probabilities added together, 0.22 plus 0.13 plus 0.15 plus 0.05 plus 0.1 plus 29 over 471, which equals 2,717 over 9,420. And again, leave it as a fraction. If it's a big number, you don't need to round. So we found R and S, and do write them in the right place. Okay. And question 6, find the equation of the line. Note that the line is sloping down, so it has a negative gradient. And all you need to do is pick 2 points that go through the vertices, the corners exactly. So I'm going to choose this one and that one. The gradient, obviously we want the equation in the form y equals mx plus c, and m is the distance in y divided by the distance in x. So the distance in y is -2 and x is 1. -2 over 1. The gradient is -2. And c is the y-intercept, and it cuts the y-axis at 1, +1. So the equation of the line is y equals -2x plus 1. You can write it as y equals 1 minus 2x. Both of these are correct. It's a 3-mark question, so make sure you show your workings. Okay, so the next question says, the following diagram shows a sketch of y equals sine x for the values of x from 0 to 360. Given that sine 54 is 0.8090, correct to 4 decimal places, write down all the solutions of the equation sine x is -0.8090. Now, sine 54 equals that. So what we've done here is we've put a line at the top, and sine 54 gave us an angle, and that angle is the symmetry. And what we're trying to do is do the same thing, but with sine equals negative. So sine equals negative, it's basically this line here. That's what we're trying to solve. And if you get your calculator and put, I'm going to take it off radians, because my calculator is in radians. So let's have a look. Okay, so menu setup, shift. So shift, menu setup, I want it in degrees, and I'm going to do shift sign, and it's negative 0.8090. And it should give you, if you notice, negative 53.998. This is basically a 54 degrees, or negative 54. So what this question is trying to tell you is that 54 is the symmetry, even without using your calculator. That number here is the symmetry for this question. It's also the symmetry for that question. So you don't need to do any calculations. What you need to do is understand that for the question that you're solving, which is the negative of the one they've given, this distance here is 54, and this distance there is also 54. Well, how do you find these distances? The first one you find by doing 180 plus 54. And the second one, because it's that direction of 180, the second one is to the left of 360, so it's 360 minus 54. You don't actually need to use shift and sign and all of that. You just use that number here. But definitely show your lines. Show the negative y equals line. So this is the line y equals negative 0.8090. So I've got, that gives me 234, and that gives me 306 degrees. This says write down an expression for the nth term of the following sequences. The easiest thing to do is to find first the common difference, and the common difference is plus 5. And so we start with 5n, the 5 times table, 5, 10, 15. And we compare it to our actual sequence. How do I go from the 5 times table to my sequence? Well, I'm adding 4. So my equation, my nth term formula, is 5n add 4, which is this one. And question 9 says integrate, again in terms of dx, and they tell you that x is smaller than a sixth. That's all right. The integration is the same method anyway. So again, you cannot integrate a fraction. So the first thing you need to do, step 1, and don't miss steps, is to rewrite the question in terms of a negative power. This one is here. Do write it out. 1 times the bracket, negative 1 minus 6x to the power of negative a half. And then you start to integrate, and you're going to add 1 to the power. So the bracket is going to be, say, the same thing, 1 minus 6x, the bracket doesn't change, to the power of a half. And then this coefficient of the bracket is divided by the power times the coefficient of x, the number being multiplied by x, which is negative 6. And so your final answer, of course, plus c, don't forget the plus c. So the final answer is 1 over negative 3, or negative a third, times 1 over 6x to the power of a half plus c. That's your final answer. And then question 10 says, a drawer contains 3 blue socks, 2 grey socks, and 5 white socks. 2 socks are taken from the drawer at random. They are taken. Once you've taken one, the number of the socks that you can take goes down by 1. It's not that you take them, look at them, and then put them back. They are taken. So, what is the probability that both socks are grey? So you want the probability of grey and grey. Well, there are 2 grey socks. So we start with 2 over 10. 10 because there is 3 plus 2 plus 5. So that is my denominator. Times, well, I've already taken 1 sock. So I don't have 2 socks anymore. I have 1 grey sock. And it's out of 9 socks altogether. And then you do your multiplication and you get the answer 145, 1 over 45. Question 11 says the solutions to the equation y tan x equals 2.5 from negative 180 to positive 180 can be shown to be 68.2 and x equals negative 111.8. And it says, hence solve the equation tan brackets 4 theta minus 15. Oh, I think there is, let's have a look there. I think there is a typo here because those two should be the same. So let me sort this out first. Okay. So I've changed it on the Word document, so when you should be working through it, they should all be the same, 2.5 and 2.5. Right, so they've given you what you would find on your calculator. So if you go shift tan 2.5, you'll get the solution 68.2 to 1 decimal place. And if you use the graph to find the second solution, you would also get that. This is a variation. And what you need to do is simply 4 theta minus 15 equals exactly the same values for x, 68.2 and negative 111.8. So you're replacing x with 4 theta minus 15. And then you are doing the opposite. So instead of minus 15, you are adding 15 to everything. So you would get 4 theta equals 83.2 and negative 96.8. But I still need to find theta, not 4 theta. So I would need to divide by 4, and divide by 4. And I get my final values for theta, which are 20.8 and negative 24.2 degrees. So they've done the hard work for you. They found the angles, and all you need to do is to reverse this to find theta. And question 12 again asks you to find the definite integration of 20x to the power of 4. So they want you to substitute the numbers 3 and 0 into your integration. So your step 1 is to actually integrate. So you add 1 to the power. And then you're going to do, of course, 20 over 5 over the new power, which gives you 4. And then you're going to substitute 3 in and 0. But since there isn't a constant, the 0 is not going to make any difference. So you're going to get your calculator and you're going to put 4 brackets 3 to the power of 5 and you get 972. So 4, 3 to the power of 5, 972. This says two events R and Q are such that the probability of the intersection between R and the complement of Q is 0.24, and the probability of Q is 0.3, and the probability of R given Q is 0.16. Find the value of R. So if I have, and I'm going to draw just a mock-up Venn diagram, R and Q, and I'm going to give them numbers, the different regions, 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to know where this goes. Is it region 1, 2, 3, or 4? So the probability of the intersection between R and not Q. Well, R is 1 and 2. Not Q is 1 and 4. So the intersection is 1. Therefore, what this is telling me is the following. R, Q, this is 0.24. It's telling me that all of Q is 0.3. And it's telling me that the probability, this one, that's the intersection between R and Q divided by Q, is 0.16. Well, I know what Q is. Q is 0.3. So I can find the intersection by doing 0.16 times 0.3, and I get 0.048. So this is 0.048. And the question says, find the probability of R. The probability of R is therefore 0.24 plus 0.048. And when added together, this gives 0.288. So really the thing you need to recognize is that this number is just R. And then you can use this formula, or the conditional probability formula, to find the intersection, and you add them together to find R. Okay, question 14 says, the points A and B have coordinates 8, -4, and 12, 2, respectively. C is the midpoint of AB. Find the length of AC. Well, C is the midpoint, so your step 1 is to actually find the coordinates of C by using the midpoint formula, which will be given to you. The midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. So I'm adding the x's, 8 plus 12 over 2, and I'm adding the y's, -4 plus 2 over 2, and I get 10, -1. And then I want the length of AC. The length of AC is the Pythagoras formula, which is going to be y2 minus y1. So 12 minus 8 squared plus 2 minus 4 squared. And you're going to put that into your calculator. So I've got 12 brackets. 12 minus 8 squared plus 2 minus 4 squared. And that gives me 2 root 13, which is not here, so I'm going to change that. 2 root 13.